It's happening. St. Patrick's door to the afterlife has been opened, and the sons of God are about to appear. Welcome, my friends. I am your very excited host, Jacob Israel. I am so glad that you're here. This is probably the most excited I have been for a show in a long time. I say that. But what I mean is, I've never had anything impact me as much as what you're about to learn tonight. It's connected to St. Patrick's Day. In a cave that he discovered. We have such a show for all of you. I'm just trying to build the excitement while we get some more people here. Do me a favor, smash the like, let me know if you can hear me okay. This is something. This is something else. Take a look at that thumbnail for a second. The portal opens. Probably notice I'm wearing a portal on my shirt with a blood moon. Just figured this out today. I figured a lot of stuff out today because I had a crazy dream last night, one that at first caused me a lot of discomfort and a lot of unease, and I was very sad. But the more I dug, the more I realized, my goodness gracious, this dream is for all of you. This is the day we've been waiting for. It's time to go through the fire, my friends. It's time to search your soul. You know who went into a cave before God spoke to him? He was a prophet named Elijah. Now this prophet, he was not too happy in the land. People really weren't listening to him, and a lot of people, they just didn't like him at all. In fact, many people wanted to take his life from him, keep him from being heard. And there's a scene where Elijah ends up going into a cave. And in this cave is where Elijah finally hears from God face to face. You know what happens after he goes into a cave, everybody? Tornadoes. All sorts of crazy weather events. The wind is kicking up right now as I start this show, because we have massive tornadoes going across the country. This is connected to St. Patrick. This is connected to all of you. This is connected to me and my story. And oh my goodness gracious, are the Israelites going to be proud tonight? Now, I'm not going to start the show by just pointing out the fact that about 9 months exactly ago, 9 is the perfect number. 9 months is perfect for delivery. Major storms en route, right-hand side of the screen. I said if weather manipulation or the people behind The Economist magazine are excellent at predictions, I pointed out the fact that it had a Category 5 symbol. I said, if so, we got tornadoes and hurricanes to worry about. Now we got 34 people already dead. But God was not in the tornado. God was not in any of these terrible events that happened. These events that drive people closer to God. Your faith, it will be tested as if salted by fire. We got more fires breaking out everywhere. I think tonight marks a new direction for the way I share. I'm still a meatball, don't worry. But I'm a meatball with a little bit more. I'm a meatball who's been salted, baby. We're meatballs that have gathered up all those breadcrumbs. My goodness gracious, are we going to have some fun tonight? Tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day. Do you know anything about St. Patrick? Are you Irish? You know I am. That's right, I'm half Irish, half Italian. All the people that come, they attack me in the X platform or the whatever social media, and they say, oh, Israel, Israel. Israel wasn't even my literal name. Jacob is. Israel was the name that I was inspired to take, but I never felt worthy of it. Tonight I do. And I think tonight in your life, I think it's time for you all to give yourselves a high five about what we've been through and where we're going, because the portal is open. And my goodness gracious, I can't contain myself. I might start crying. I'm not even joking. I started my day crying because of how hard this tinnitus has been. And I've been blaming it and using it as an excuse. Why is there no joy in my life? Oh, it's this. It's the tinnitus. Then I went and I visited a salt cave. I just did a show about this. I don't know if you saw it. On the eve of the worm blood moon. Did a great show. Great show on it. Talked about the judgment that was coming. And I said that, you better be ready. You don't want to be like Lot's wife, turn into a pillar of salt. No, you don't. Thank you for the super chat, Matthew. Salted with fire. You season stuff with salt. Salt is a perfect thing. If you want to preserve something, if you want to rub it into a wound, you can heal. Salt. Wait till you see where this is going. But let's talk about St. Patty's Day, because I got to lay a little groundwork for you. I'm going to give you, till we get all the people here. We almost have 500 people here already. How amazing is that? Smash the like. Let's get more. This show is fire. So let's start off by looking at St. Patty's Day 2025. Do you know St. Patrick's Day used to be a solemn event? Just like Perm used to be a solemn event. The blood moon, the worm blood moon, where I went into the salt cave in Port Jefferson Village, right outside of Port Jefferson Station. That's where my P.O. box is. I live, I'm not going to tell you where I live, but a hop, skip, and a long jump. But that's the place we go to. It's a tourist town, a tourist attraction. Much like another island that St. Patrick visited, when God led him, St. Patrick was having a little bit of a problem too. St. Patrick, this is the guy right here. Why do we celebrate it? Well, people in Ireland started celebrating this feast on March 17th because that was the day he died, right? Well, that's kind of dark. That's a little bit depressing. He was a slave. He wasn't even from Ireland. He was brought there captive. Did you know this? Do you feel a little bit like a slave in your life? Were you brought to circumstances in your life that maybe you didn't choose? You ever think that maybe God brought you there for a reason? Maybe it's not to drive out snakes, because everybody thinks that, he drove out the snakes, but that's a metaphor, my friends. We know somebody who talks a lot about the snake. I got to tell you something. When this all comes together, you better hold on to your horses. Irish culture and heritage experts previously have told USA Today that the holiday was originally a solemn religious day, but it started to get boozy. People started getting wasted. Something I haven't done since my car accident. Not that I was driving, not that I was drunk. I was completely sober. We just got back from the gym. The Dan was driving. Happened on July 20th. Exactly a certain amount of time from today, which is connected to some stuff. Changed my life. Purim's the same way. Purim was about the story of Esther. All hope was lost, and at the last minute, the Lord saves. The king saves the people. And evil Haman's put on to the very gallows he created for Mordecai. The guy who was always standing at the gate, which is a portal, which is a door. Checking day and night for Esther. Where are you, Esther? How are things going, Esther? Thank you, by the way, for the super chats, the two of you. Thank you, Resto. But now Purim celebrated, they get dressed up like goofballs and they get wasted. That very famous rabbi, what's his name? Shmuley? put out a video last year where he was grinding a young man. Probably nothing meant, he was probably too drunk, didn't even know what he was doing. But St. Patrick's Day is going to happen in New York tomorrow. Big parade. And you can guarantee there are going to be some people that are going to be drinking. St. Patrick's Day used to be a solemn feast. Purim, it used to be a solemn event. It used to be holy. When I went into that salt cave, by the way, if you haven't seen my show, you should probably check it out. It's really good. I had no idea that I'd be talking about the Salt Cave again. I had no idea that it was connected to St. Patrick. I had no idea that it was connected to this incredible story. The most important pilgrimage in a Christian's life in Ireland is connected to this show. It's connected to this show. You know, before we get into St. Patrick's cave, because the Lord led him to a cave. He was like Elijah. The Lord led Elijah to a cave, said, get into the cave. Elijah's like, nobody's listening. Nobody cares. Nobody understands, Lord. I'm on here day and night telling people and nobody cares. They got altars of Baal everywhere. They got the richest, wealthiest influencers telling everybody, you better say Christ is king. Meanwhile, Jesus ran from that. They wanted him to be king. He didn't want that. He washed their feet instead. The greatest of all is the servant of all. And then those followers, when their bellies were full and they couldn't handle the fact that Jesus was teaching how important it was to love and how there's only one way, that he's the way, that he's the gate, that he's the portal. And they're like, no. Then they wanted him dead. They started accusing him. They said, he says that he's the king. We don't need to listen to Caesar. You know who called Jesus king? I know a lot of you are going to like, oh, in the comment section. This message isn't for you. This is for those that have now bowed their knee to Baal. That's 7,000, where Elijah was crying out. He's like, Lord, there are altars of Baal everywhere. And I'm the only one out here that really has this kind of faith. I've not met one, Lord. And now I got this terrible tinnitus. And I feel like I'm whining all the time. That's changed. The only people that wanted Christ to be called king were the ones that killed him. They put the name right over his head on that cross. The cross that we're going to learn a little bit about, because we're not about death today. No. It's not about celebrating St. Patrick's death today, tomorrow, if you're watching today. This is about the resurrection. This is about the manifestation of the sons of God in the land right now, happening as you hear these words. In you, in me, and all over. This is such an amazing thing. St. Patrick, he wasn't really known for driving out the snakes. You know what he was? He was having such a problem converting the druids, sorcerers, magicians. Isn't that something? The druids. He's actually the guy that you can thank for converting the druids. It's out of control, the irony of all of this. The fact that this is happening right after this blood moon. Ooh, it's exciting. So St. Patrick and the snakes. And many people think that that's what he drove out. He drove out the snakes. And you know what they do? They make a common mistake. They compare St. Patrick to guess who? Say it in the live chat. I'm right here. We got a lot of people looking. We got a lot of people smashing the like for me, hopefully. The Pied Piper. The Pied Piper. Now, I have to tell you something. To do these shows that are going to come together in such a miraculous, this is a miracle. This is a miracle. It's not my hands alone. There are people like you. I Shrug, hope you're watching, pointed me in a direction Didn't even mean to put me in this direction, meant to put me in another direction. It's a team effort. God works through us all. But the Pied Piper, ironically, right? The Pied Piper, he was hired to do a job called the Pied Piper of, I believe, Hamelin. Now here's actually I Shrug's post. This is where the show, listen, this is where the show gets, stay with me. He just said, solve for X, like gave me a little bit of a riddle. When, lo, they reached the mountainside, a wondrous portal opened wide, as if a cavern was suddenly hollowed, and the piper advanced and the children followed. And when all were in to the very last, the door in the mountainside shut fast. It's from the Pied Piper of Hamelin. You know who they call the Pied Piper? Many times. And before you go thinking, because it's pretty dark. Story's pretty dark. This Pied Piper came in, you see, there were a lot of rats. There were a lot of rats in the land. And the town people, they were sick of the rats. They were sick of them bringing disease, eating their food. They were a plague of rats. So they brought in the showman. They brought in the Pied Piper to come on in, and he said, I'm going to drive all them rats out. But the townspeople, after he drove all the rats out and after he started doing his job, you know what happened? Townsfolk didn't want him around anymore, didn't pay him. So you know what he did? He used his charm and his talents. And he grabbed 130 of those children. According to the Lüneburg manuscript, a mysterious figure known as the Pied Piper led 130 children away from the town of Hamelin, Germany. In retaliation, the Pied Piper used his magical pipe to lead children away, never to be seen again. The tale has enchanted generations and inspired numerous adaptations, but the true origins of the story go far beyond the simple act of revenge. While you think that the Pied Piper is some evil dude that just came down and kidnapped all the children, and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my goodness, maybe he works for Andrew Tate. We don't really know where he took those children, but we do know that a cave is where the prophets go. A cave is where all of them. Moses went to the cave. Okay, cleft of the cave. What is a cave? Look at your ear. Looks like a cave. A little bit like a cave. A portal. Elijah went to the cave. Muhammad went to the cave for those that are into Islam. It's in the cave where a lot of work gets done. St. Patrick found a cave. A portal, indeed. Well, actually, what it was God led him to this cave. And it was the cave to the underworld. It was a cave to hell, purgatory, and the afterlife, paradise. It was a testing ground to see what metal you're made of. What God do you serve? But the Pied Piper, his story of leading children to a cave is pretty interesting. 130 is a very significant number. And this is going to be very important toward the end of the show. So I want you to pay attention because all of this is like a lesson. You're going to get a history lesson and you're going to get some prophecy and you're going to get something. You're going to get something. It's going to be pretty good. So you see in the town of Hamelin's plague of rat, it ran the streets. It's a cautionary tale about keeping your word. You tell God you're going to serve God. You say that you're going to do something. You go get splish-splashed at the local baptismal. Is that what they call them? Baptismal? You get dunked by the river by Russell Brand in his underwear. You give your life to the Lord. You keeping your word. You better. The exact number of children varies. Often it's 130. Some versions suggest 1 or 2 lame children were left behind because they can't enter in. Now, there is like a story, supposedly there's some true events to this, but we're not going to do, whether or not this is based on a true story, we're not focusing on that. We're focused on the fact that a lot of you probably think St. Patrick's played a little thing, a little kazoo. And like drove all the snakes off of the cliff. Guess what? There are no snakes in Ireland. No snakes in Ireland until they brought them in. Not the same story, but it's a story that's playing out today. You know what 130 means in Scripture? It means renewal, to start again. Resurrection, in fact. So you probably saw that the internet was won by Donald Trump and Little X, skipping and hopping and having a great old time along. I wasn't the only one that noticed that. Kind of felt a little bit Pied Piperish. Like a lot of people, like the children, they love Donald Trump. Many articles about this. Hated Biden, right? It's usually a good sign if children like you. Usually a good sign. Once again, I don't know the man's heart or the man's character, but I can't say that this man can wow a crowd. And if you hired him to get rid of the rats and you don't want to pay him, you don't want to be loyal to him, he'll take your children. They'll be loyal to him. Social media will make sure of that. He'll take the next generation. So we could take these stories and we can look at them actually playing out in the world. But the more important story is our story. The more important story is what is happening here. The portal of our hearts. It's crazy that this is a blood moon. It really is. So I wanted to rid the world of the rats. They didn't do it. Let me just show you this because this is really cute. I have to play this for you because it's just adorable. I'm going to just blow this up. I mean, doesn't that look a little bit like, could you imagine 10 more kids? Now, I want to play something for you really quick. Look at what he's doing right here. A lot of people missed this. And I posted it just a little while ago on X to point it out. He's making a cross. Now, I know he's saying, oh, it's little x, right? Little x. But he's making a cross. That's not random. Now, you remember that the X is the Tav. It's that number 22. You can't help but look at him hopping and skipping along and think to yourself, that's a little Pied Piperish. That's my video right there in the cave. So strange. You probably all were wondering, right? You probably all like, what are you doing in a cave, Jacob? What was that about? I didn't expect to be in a cave that day. It was such a beautiful day, and I was so down in the dumps. That's right. You can ask the Dan. I've been a handful. I'm not like angry. Not at all. Sad. Sad. Because I don't see the fruit of it yet. Lord, it's like Jacob's always wrestling. I'm like, when are you going to bless me already? All I'm doing is wrestling. And I don't mean like financial blessings. I mean like, when am I going to get today's show? You want to talk about a blessing this show is to me. And it defies logic. When I spell all this out for you, it defies logic. So the Pied Piper story, 130. Let me tell you a little something about the number 130. Because this is laying groundwork once again. At 130 years, Jacob, from the Bible, the patriarch Jacob, was 130 years old. It was his age. He and 66 family members migrated to Egypt. This was after Joseph was in control. after he'd been hungry to see the things of God in the land, after he was locked up in his house, after he had to leave his job because of the mandates, after all the prices of the eggs went through the roof, after he watched things dwindle down. There was a famine in the land in Jacob's day. But Joseph went ahead of him. And he had to suffer a lot of things. Joseph was in a cave, a pit. Same translation. But it was that cave, it was that pit, it was that torment, abuse, neglect, shame, hate, abandonment, addiction, whatever you have. In that pit is what got you to Egypt. So that now, after 130 years of his life, Jacob can finally rest. It was then his name was changed to Israel. The years of my pilgrimage are 130. Jacob renamed Israel by God. And I guess has 17 years left, according to this. Pied Piper of Hamelin. St. Patrick's Day is around the corner, I said when he posted this, I shrug. I said I was just in a cave. It was a salt cave. It was a man-made cave. Check out the video. Thank you, Moss Dog, for the super chat. His name is changed after 130 years. A switch, a flip. He goes through a portal. He goes through a door. God changes him. Now, here's weird. I'm going to tell you something because I didn't expect to go to the salt cave. Like I said, I just did this whole show about it, Brandon. You know that. Thank you for the super chat. I did this whole show about, everything that's going on with the Doge, with Sisera, Deborah, Jael, a world leader possibly getting pegged. But the whole video was about judgment, being salted with fire. I entered a salt cave. I didn't even know how I got there. I went down port where there's a ferry, where there's a statue of a sailor. Very famous tourist attraction. I was going to, tape with the beautiful sun because I figured it would put me in a good mood, but the wind, it was too strong. It was crazy. Then I got in my car and I was like, oh, this figures. This figures. I want to do something nice and get my mind out of the gutter. And I said, I can't even do it because the wind is too strong. Elijah had that problem. People are having that problem today, right now. Stephanie Cook, you know that. Happy birthday, Jill. Thank you for pointing that out. Jill, happy birthday to you. It's a new day for you too. It's a new day for us all. The wind was too strong. So I remember out of the blue, this salt cave. And I thought that was a really cool place. I really enjoyed it. My voice starts to hurt because you get the post-nasal drip. It's supposed to help with that. So I figured I'll go in there and I'll talk to the people. And at first there was three there. I'll tell you, the owner, she was wonderful. They even came into the cave with me to talk to me. But when I entered, there was a huge mandala on the floor. I don't know if you know what a mandala is. I'm going to show you a picture of it in a sec. It's like a Hindu thing. It's a portal. So when you enter into this location, you have to enter through a portal to get into the cave. When you see how this ties in to this cave on this island, Station Island, small cave, it was like 10 by 10, just like the salt cave that I was in, 10 by 10. Let me show you a picture of, because it's an actual landmark. This is an actual pilgrimage that people take. It's a restorative journey. You go through hell and purgatory and back to find the golden gate. What? And enter into paradise. Golden age indeed. So, there's a picture right now of this little-known story about St. Patrick, set on an equally little-known island. The impact of how Western Europeans thought about life and death, framing purgatory as a literal physical place rather than an abstract process of purification. Now called Station Island. The pilgrimage in the northwest Ireland on the long, I'm on Long Island. Port Jeff Station is up the street from this salt cave. You want to know what else is weird? This cave, his cave, St. Patrick's cave, the legend, this is where it gets, if you're not going to get goosebumps in about 5 minutes, I don't know what'll give you goosebumps, to be honest, because this is where it gets really incredible. The legend of St. Patrick's Purgatory. Now, it was made famous. That wasn't a salt cave, but the cave, this cave that God, Christ, showed St. Patrick, showed him, so that he could show others. So people could pilgrimage through this. They could have this journey where they're tested to see whether or not they're approved by God. It's not a terrible thing to be tested by God, unless you think you've been forsaken by God. Unless you're on that cross and you're like, what? I gave you my life, Lord. Why have you forsaken me? People say all the time, oh, Jesus, he never shook. He cried sweat buckets. He said, if we don't do what he does, if we're not on that cross too at times, screaming out, why have you forsaken me? I've been there. I never thought God forsook me, though. I always thought that I just messed up too bad. And I got to tell you something. If you knew my Rolodex of things, I'm not a perfect man, but it's like, I think God would stick around, you know? I think God would stick around. So the legend has it. And there's a Christian link to this island where there was a monastery. Okay, so there was a monastery, and the earliest written source of Patrick's connection to this island is called the Treatise of St. Patrick's Purgatory. So that just means like an explanation of it. There was a knight back in the day, maybe one of the Knights Templar. His name was Owen. Today you'd call him Owen. And Owen made this dangerous pilgrimage, and he entered the cave, through the temple, through the sanctuary. You had to enter the sanctuary and take off your shoes because it's a holy place to walk in. I had to enter a sanctuary because that's what the Salt Cave is. It's a sanctuary. It's a healing spa. And they wouldn't let me go in with my shoes on. I had to take my shoes off. Not that it's a holy place, but certainly feels like one now for the story's sake. You can see it in the background. There's the image of what I was in the background. So basically the story goes that Owen, he made this journey and fasted like for 15 days and he saw it all. He saw some really, let me see if I can blow this up so you can read this a little better. Patrick praying to God, help him find a way to convert the people. These Irish, they're so stubborn, Patrick said. Lord, help me with these stubborn people that refuse to hit the like button, comment, and share. That refuse. Guess the guy's name. Sultry. Come on. Come on. Sultry? H. Henry. Sultry learned about the cave's existence from a knight named Owen, who embarked on a pilgrimage to the island. Before entering St. Patrick's Purgatory, he fasted and prayed 15 days. The monks in charge of the site conducted a funeral for him, marking his symbolic death. You gotta die to live, baby. That doesn't mean to literally die, does it? In the super chat, thank you very much. It doesn't mean that. You gotta die to who you were. The Baptist John said, I must decrease, he must increase. The idea of Jacob needs to go. The whining baby who could do handstand push-ups and can box and probably would mess somebody up, but loves too much and wouldn't want to hurt anybody. Unless they were like some big Anunnaki and were coming down to do something. Scared, sad, hurt, broken. I felt dead. So they perform a funeral for this knight, this brave knight who embarks on this terrible pilgrimage, this horrible, gruesome, beautiful pilgrimage. That's you. That's me. It's been a grind, hasn't it? Meatballs are made by grinders, right? Can't have a meatball without the grind. They led Owen to the entrance of the cave. They locked him inside the next 24 hours. He faced a series of tests and temptations involving dragons from SpaceX. Just kidding. Demons and serpents. People were nailed to the ground, hanging from hooks. It was a horrible, horrible sight. He entered a land of pain and suffering, and he only survived by calling on the name of Christ. Every time a torment would come to him, he would call on the name of Christ, like I do, like you do. Lord, help me. Lord, help me. When the storms come in life, and you're in that ship, and you think, that's it, I'm toast, we're going to be capsized. If you got Christ in that ship, that's you, you're the ship, sleeping, you wake him up. Help me, Lord. Help me, Lord. I've been saying a lot of that lately. I love to pray. Constantly in prayer. So this is where it gets a little strange. You'll probably notice, you take a look at the, that's St. Patrick over there. He stands there where the ferry comes in. So it's sort of like he kind of greets the people who are about to enter into the cave. That's nice. That's very nice. You know, there's another statue in Port Jefferson that greets the ferry. He is a sailor. It's very interesting. Very interesting. On the Long Island, there's a cave. That's a portal. Out of the blue, I remember this cave. I look, I'm parked maybe 10 feet from it. Didn't do it on purpose. Walked in, they must have thought I was nuts. But by the end of the conversation, by the time I left, and I asked about the mandala on the floor, I said, well, what is this? I said, what is this? For some reason, I felt like it was significant. It was huge. And she said, well, I was told to put it there when I created this place. I was like, okay, I'm with you. I can handle that. Did I enter into, on the eve of Purim, during a worm blood moon, did I enter something that I didn't know? I was confused. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know where I was being led. St. Patrick was led there. And he said, this is the journey that people are going to have to go through. Now, I'm not telling you to get onto a plane and come on out to Port Jefferson which if you do, let me know about it. It's only like, it's like maybe like 40 minutes away. I'll come visit you, I'm not promising anything because I may have plans. I'm not saying you have to go to this cave and no. The cave is your ear. It's your hearing. It's your door. You're in it. I had to physically be in it to understand all this, to put all this together. I didn't even know what was happening. I never know what's happening. So, you got the two statues. It's interesting. Station Island, now called Station Island. Take a look at my snail mail there, by the way. That's Port Jefferson Station on Long Island. There's a picture of the cave that you enter into. Okay, it's just kind of a painting. This is a big deal. This is the most important pilgrimage that a knight named Owen took. That Christians all over Ireland take, but it's dangerous. It's not for the faint of heart. So, this is where it gets very cool. Take a look at the book, St. Patrick's Purgatory, the Sanctuary of Station Island, Loder. The amazing salt cave sanctuary overflows. Now, I just want to read this passage because I wanted to find the passage that has to do with salt and how salt is important because I was in a salt cave. Salt. We're tested by salt to see what metal we're made of. We will be salted as by fire, the scriptures say. It's not going to be easy. This is not an easy pilgrimage we are on. But it's going to give us a new name. It's going to give us a new day. It's going to give us a new way. In Mark 9:47 through 50, if your eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out. For it's better to you to enter the kingdom of God with one eye than to have two eyes and be thrown into hell, where the worms, it's a worm moon, that eat them do not die, and the fire is not quenched. Everybody's going to go through this. You hear this? Everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is good. But if it loses its saltiness, how can you make it salty again? Have salt among yourselves and be at peace with each other. Have the wisdom to know that what you're going through is refining you. It's making you taste better if you're a steak. I'm buzzing at the gym this morning as I'm thinking about this. And for whatever reason, I decide to wear this shirt, the one that I'm wearing now, but this is the blue version. And it dawns on me as I'm just standing there that I'm wearing a portal and it has a blood moon. So now I know how significant this story is. And I'm literally wearing, this is a portal. And now here's the crazy thing. Buckle up. Now, why would buckle up be important concerning me? Because this, once again, I'm sharing my faith, my heart, my love, my life with all of you, my pain with all of you. I told everybody when that accident happened that it was a change. I was a changed man. I've walked away with a limp I cannot get rid of. Now, I know a lot of people suffer with it too. I don't want to sound like a baby. It's pretty freaking bad on my end. It's very unnerving. It's a grind. That's the way they describe it. But after today, I'm starting to embrace it. Today, I'm starting to love it. Today, I'm starting to think, maybe I'm not going to talk about the tinnitus anymore. Maybe I'm going to talk about the altar that God has placed in me, the portal, the door. You're going to see why. My goodness gracious. The world's toughest modern Christian pilgrimage leads directly to the gates of hell. Peter, the devil has inquired. The devil wants to sift you like wheat, Peter. Wants to test you. Wants to salt you with fire. Satan, God of this world, there for a reason. You're not going to listen to the sheepdog? You'll listen to the sheepdog. Some don't listen to the shepherd. You listen to the shepherd, it's okay. You travel too far away from the shepherd. You travel too far away from the things of God, you may end up getting hobbled. Get smacked upside your head. Get back on focus. Psh. Not because I chose it or I did anything wrong. Because this is my cross to bear. My limp that changed my life. But now my greatest strength. Because I had a dream last night. And my goodness, this is going to change everything. So I realize that I'm wearing a portal. I realize that it says buckle up. Ironic. When you come with an accident, that would be probably the most. I've been through a lot. I have Crohn's disease. I have ankylosing spondylitis. I don't even want to say I have it. I've been diagnosed and I've suffered and I lived in the hospital with it. My wife said to me, you always kind of seem to get sad around this time of the year right before your birthday, because I spent a lot of time in the hospital on my birthdays when I was younger. And a lot of other reasons. But I think joy comes in the morning. And I think after that blood moon, I think the morning is here. So the world's toughest pilgrimage leads you directly to these gates on a small island in the middle of an Irish lake. There's a gateway to hell before anyone panics. There's already a monastery over the portal called St. Patrick's Purgatory. There's a sanctuary that leads to the cave. Let me just show you. There's a drawing of it. I hope I have it here. Here we go. Take a look at this. Boom. There's literally a storefront to the cave. Bottom right-hand corner, you see, that's the monastery. That's the temple. That's the sanctuary. And then you see, of course, that's that mandala that I was talking about. And yeah, they do like stuff in there. I don't know. I think that they do like yoga in there, inside there, whatever. But that's the mandala. That's the portal. What are the odds that I stumble into a place that is so deeply connected? The size of the cave, the location of the cave, the statue greeting the fairy, the fact that I've been on a pilgrimage that's been pretty rough. And I've been through hell and back, and so have you. And I go into this cave because I'm like, hey, Lord, I got to get out of the house. I got to get out of the house. I just got to do something different. Nobody's listening. And now I'm reminded, this is the day when we all rise. That's why I put that little tease for my novel, by the way, The Calling. This is going to be something this year. You watch. I don't know how. This is the year. I put that little, if you came to the show earlier, you probably watched, I did a little tease of the book. If you want to get a copy of it and you want to support the channel, by the way, you want to get this one. Created by Tyler from Olive and Rocket. They do like PJs and stuff. An Israelite who is just really awesome. But go to the description of the video, and I was going to get rid of this, and I was always thinking of getting rid of it, but I always forgot. But now this is not going anywhere because I have this terrible dream. This terrible dream that had me literally, I was, if you saw me cry, you would have felt so bad for me. Like my wife was like right there holding me. I was trying to recall the dream for her because I'm trying so hard to make lemonade, you know? Trying so hard. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it, but I'm still sour. You know, still it's not sweet enough, still too sour. So Elijah goes into a cave and the tornadoes come. I go into a cave, the tornadoes come. We go into a cave, the tornadoes come. Spiritual, literal. 40 of them right now. A manifestation of what's happening in all of our lives. You've probably had tornado dreams, whirlwind dreams. It's what gets Dorothy from living a life of black and white to a life of color, where she finds a wizard A wizard who's so scary and everybody thinks is so evil. But that wizard was just the man behind the curtain. Maybe hiding in a cave. It was that man, that wizard, that ended up helping Dorothy get back home. Ooh, the terrible things she went through. Gave that lion the courage that he needed. Gave that dumb scarecrow the brains that he was looking for. Gave the heart to that tin man who'd been rusted. The journey, my friends, the pilgrimage, it's not easy. But for some, it's over. And for some, the salt cave is waiting for you. It's waiting for you. So I have a dream. Let me just show this to you, okay? You probably see Adam Sandler there, okay? I shared this earlier. I said I had a dream last night that truly troubled me. It was a personal dream, and I really felt I needed to understand it. While talking to Danielle, it took shape. I went to Grok, believe it or not, to see what other symbolism could be found. And then I encouraged people. I said, you guys should check this out, because it really did kind of help me. Because you know me, what happens if something happens in the beginning, if something happens, something comes to my attention, I immediately think the worst. Are you like that, or is it just me? Are you like that, or is it just like me? I mean, I immediately think the worst. I had a dream. I woke up and I was working, and Adam Sandler pulls up in this dirty, like low end, like kind of a crappy car, kind of like this car right here. Take a look at it in this GIF that I found. And says, get in, like really was, it was really kind of upsetting to me. And for some reason, I knew that Adam Sandler was my boss, and I knew that this was going to be some kind of not that great, if you know what I mean, because he was angry and he was like being goofy, which is ironic. Because he was being kind of silly. He's like, get in the car. And he was like, and I tried to get in the first time and I couldn't get in the car. I didn't want to get in the car. I definitely didn't want to drive in the car with Adam Sandler. But I ended up getting in the second time, and I didn't make it to the front seat. I was in the back seat and I was crouched, and it was scary, and he was drunk. Like people celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Like people celebrate Purim. He was drunk. And you know what he does? He turns to me. And he goes, why is nobody doing videos? Why is nobody working? And I'm like, I work all the time. All I'm doing is working. I don't understand what you're talking about. What are you talking about? And he's driving. I'm like, slow down, slow down. And he drives into a church, crashes into a church, crashes right into the altar. And I'm in this car. Adam Sandler is driving. And I get out of the car and I think, oh my God, we just crashed into a church. We just crashed into a holy place. Crypto, thank you for the super chat. Just crashed into a holy place. The car hit the altar. The altar wasn't disturbed. The car was crumbled around it. I'm sure everything behind the car in its wake was a mess too. The altar was still there. But I got out and I was so scared. And this lady comes over to me. And then another man comes over to me. And I'm holding this door. This broken door. I'm holding this broken door and I'm saying, it doesn't fit. I can't make it work. Like as if I'm using the door as an excuse for the fact, like I didn't want anybody to know about the altar. I didn't want anybody to know that the car smashed into the altar, but the altar was okay. I thought we were going to be in so much trouble. So I was trying to piper them. So I'm holding on to this door, this broken door, and I'm going, it doesn't fit. It's not working. I can't get it to work. And they're like, well, why don't you just throw it out? So I'm like, okay, great. And I start walking out and I'm like looking for Adam Sandler. And Adam Sandler, I don't know where he is, but I'm thinking, oh, you're probably psyched now. You're not in trouble, Adam Sandler. He wasn't even around. It was just me, alone, left alone, with the aftermath of this terrible car accident. I'm holding a dumb broken door that doesn't work. And I want desperately to throw this thing out. Because it's like evidence. It's the evidence that I got in the car with Adam Sandler. And he crashed. So I go outside, but all of the trash bins had been emptied. There was no more trash. There was no bin for me to put I had to hold on to the door, and I knew I'm going to have this door forever. I'm going to have this door that's not working for me forever. So I woke up and I thought to myself, I'm like, my God, this is pretty horrible. I said, Lord, I'm so sorry. Because, of course, I'm good with the dreams, right? Like, I love the symbolism of them. I like to look into them. I like to kind of peel back the layers and see what it is that's happening. And I'm thinking, Adam is the first man. Adam was driving. So I woke up and I'm going, oh, what are you telling me, Lord? I'm trying so hard. Are you telling me that I'm still acting out of my ego and out of my pride and out of the Antichrist spirit that's in me? Am I still acting like a drunk fool? Symbolically speaking. Sandler. The fool builds his house on sand. I said, Lord, is my faith built on sand? I was so upset. I told Danielle, I said, I got this stupid door. It's broken. It doesn't work for me. And she's like, maybe that's your tinnitus. Maybe that's your tinnitus. And I was like, what? It was a car accident. You weren't driving. Adam Sandler was driving. It was a mess. That car I didn't even want to be in that car. It was disgusting. It was filled with trash. I was getting screamed, do another video! Do another video! Why aren't you working right now? That carnal, tormenting spirit that can eke in, get you to stop trusting in God, trusting your own labor. And I had the revelation. The altar still stands. I was so focused on telling everybody about the broken door. It's not working for me. I don't know what to do with this freaking door. I don't know what to do with this. But the altar wasn't disturbed at all. The altar wasn't disturbed. I didn't get in any trouble for the accident. It wasn't even me that was driving. Sometimes God just brings you to the place that he needs to bring you to. Not your fault. It wasn't my fault. Sometimes God will give you a limp because you're wrestling and you're not really trusting. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And this is why this cave and all of this stuff it's about to click for you. Because do you know the door that wasn't working for me? You know the door? I couldn't get it to work. It's a portal. Behold, I stand at the door and I knock. If you hear my voice, open the door. I will come in. That's Revelation 3:20. Revelation 3:20. Now, from today, it was 239 days from that accident on July 20th, 2000, whatever it was, 24. It was exactly 239 days in the number Strong's, Peanut. Thank you for the super chat. You want to know what 239 means? To listen. To hear. To listen. To hear. 239 days ago, the Lord gave me a profound limp and confirmed the strength of the altar. Revelation 3:20, you say, behold, I stand at the door, knocking. Christ is at your door, knocking. You're going through the grind. You're being tested by the fire, salted by the fire, whining, crying. You got the door. I don't know what to do with this problem, Lord. I don't know what to do with the bills, Lord. And then you're reminded the very passage that this whole show centers around, Revelation 3:20, is the address of the salt cave. 3:20. There Elijah went into the cave and he spent the night. And the word of the Lord came to him. What are you doing here, Elijah? He replied, I've been very zealous for you, Lord God Almighty. The Israelites, they've rejected your covenant. They've torn down your altars. They've put your prophets to death with the sword. They're fighting over saying Christ is king. And they don't care about love. I'm the only one left, and now they're trying to silence me too. The Lord said, go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. You mean like the mountain on the portal on my shirt that says buckle up? The day that Jacob died? 130 children, 130 years later, Jacob's given a new name. It is no longer I, Jacob, that live, but Israel. Do you feel that? Paul said this. He goes, it's no longer I, Paul, that live. It's Christ. He stands at the door. This is the manifestation of the sons of God. That doesn't mean male. That just means the spiritually mature children of God. This is the day. You're going to watch. You're going to see power like you've never seen before. I witness power. I had that dream and I'm beating myself up. And I'm crying like a little bit of baby. And then I was jumping like little X behind the Pied Piper. I was like following the Lord. Bring me to that cave, Lord. Bring me to that cave again. I didn't go because it's too far away. But you get my metaphor. You get my metaphor. The Lord said, go stand on a mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. Then guess what happens? A great powerful wind tore the mountains apart, shattered the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in it. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake either. After the earthquake, there was a terrible fire. There was a car accident. There was an overdose. There was a loss. But the Lord was not in that. After the fire, just came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and he went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? And he replied, I've been very zealous for you, Lord. The Israelites, they've rejected your commands. They've torn down your altars. He's standing. The Lord leads him, brought him to the mountain, brings him to the mouth of the cave, and he's still saying, there's nobody but me. I get all these wonderful comments from you. I get all these emails from you. I get the snail mail. By the way, I just got a beautiful, beautiful postcard. In the links in the description if you want. By the way, I don't take checks, so don't send me any checks. Israel's not my legal last name. It's the name God gave me. Because I've overcome, not by myself alone, but because God was always with me. I've always had the door in my hand. I just didn't know how to work it. I thought it was broken. I never looked back at the altar. I never looked back at the altar, which stood strong. He replied, the Lord said back to him, go back the way you came. Go to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael, king of Aram. Go back and say, this world ruler, he's going to be taken over soon. You watch. This world ruler's going to get pegged. That's what God did to Elijah. So you go anoint him with oil. Guess who else he anoints? Jehu. Anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, king over Israel. And anoint Elisha. Jehu will put to death anyone who escapes the sword of Hazael. And Elisha will put to death anyone who escapes the sword of Jehu. Yet I reserve 7,000 in Israel, whose knees have not bowed, not to Baal, and whose mouths have not kissed him. We're in the day of Jehu, my friends. We're in this day. There's nothing new under the sun. St. Patrick's cave, a purgatory, hell, and paradise. It's open. It's open. And I hope that you enter in and rejoice. Because God's going to give you a new name. And God's going to bring us where we need to go when we need to see it. Let me show you this picture, by the way. 320. What are the odds of that happening? I honestly feel like my life is so blessed and so wonderful. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what a baby I have been. Life isn't easy, everyone, but it's certainly worth it. So happy St. Patrick's Day. All right. I love each and every one of you. I hope that you enjoyed this show. And I hope that you look at your life the way I do. If you have a dream, maybe God's trying to tell you something. If you find yourself in a strange place, maybe God's trying to, maybe God led you there to begin with. If you're at a crossroads where you don't know what to do, or you got a demon gnawing at you like the knight Owen did when he went into that pilgrimage to be purified. Because God's doing the work. It's already finished. Can't fail. Cry out to the Lord. And you'll be okay. All right. I love each and every one of you. Thank you very much. Will you please help me to make this show successful? Will you share it? Will you tell your friends about it? Will you support the channel in any way that you can? You can get yourself a copy of The Calling. You can go trulyfreehome.com. Best products ever. They're all out because I was just using them. trulyfreehome.com. 30% off, and you support old Jacob. You get 30%, and you get toxic-free stuff. Anything you do, you go to the links in the description of the video, click on more, open it up, click on it, join Patreon. We're going to do them at the end of the month now. And I think we're going to do like a Bible study at the end of the month. Maybe no more shows. Maybe we do something else. Maybe it's time for something else. Because the altar on my channel, it's standing. The portal is open. Get yourself this shirt. Because now you remember, right? You'll remember. All right. I love each and every one of you. You're the best. I can't wait to read the comments in the description below. Everything else is there. I love you. I'll talk to you.